She stepped onto the stage, every eye fixed on her, every heartbeat echoing in the room, but within seconds, the air turned cold. Words meant to humiliate struck like lightning. The audience froze, sensing the storm about to erupt, yet no one knew how she would react. This wasn't just an insult, it was a challenge, a test of strength in front of the world. And when the first gasp cut through the silence, it became clear what she did next would shock everyone watching. Could one woman's courage turn the tide, or would the moment consume her? Her mornings were always the same, early runs through quiet streets, coffee in hand, emails checked before the city even stirred. As a self-made CEO, she had built her company from the ground up, navigating boardrooms and business deals with precision and grit. Colleagues admired her drive, friends relied on her honesty, and her family knew the strength behind her calm demeanor. Success had never come easy, but she carried it with grace, never letting the weight of prejudice slow her down. That day, she was invited to a nationally televised talk show, a platform meant to highlight her achievements. She walked in expecting questions about innovation and leadership. Instead, she would soon find herself facing something she had carefully avoided throughout her career: blatant, unprovoked racism. The cameras rolled, the audience watched, and a few careless words whispered by someone who underestimated her would set the stage for a confrontation that no one in that studio, and no one at home, would ever forget. The lights brightened as the host stepped forward, his smile sharp, rehearsed, but something in his tone carried a subtle edge. At first, it seemed like ordinary banter, the kind she had encountered countless times. But then the words came, twisted, unnecessary, a jab at her race disguised as humor. Laughter rippled through the audience, polite at first, then louder, more contagious, as if the room itself was complicit. Her stomach tightened, her hands pressed against the arms of the chair, heart pounding, but she refused to show weakness. She had faced challenges before, but nothing like this. Each question from the host became a calculated trap. "You've achieved so much, but don't you think your style is different?" he said. His smirk barely hidden. The implication was clear. Every eye in the room flickered between curiosity and discomfort, sensing the unfairness but unsure how to react. Cameras zoomed in, recording her every expression, her every micro-reaction. The audience's laughter swelled again, and she felt the weight of history pressing down. The countless voices silenced before hers, the stereotypes, the assumptions she had fought against her entire life. She clenched her jaw, refusing to let anger dictate her reaction. But tension built like a storm ready to break. The host leaned closer, lowering his voice, dripping with condescension. "Do you really belong here?" The words struck harder than any slap, echoing in the quiet spaces between the live music and applause. Gasps swept through some audience members, others shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene. Cameras caught every heartbeat, every flash of her eyes narrowing. It was a power play, and the room seemed to pulse with the anticipation of her response. She felt the world narrowing, time slowing, each second stretching into an eternity. The host continued, poking, prodding, testing her limits. Her mind raced. How could she respond without giving him satisfaction, without feeding the laughter, without letting the story he wanted to tell dominate the narrative? Every fiber of her being demanded she strike back, but the stakes were immense. This was no private confrontation, this was national television. Every word, every gesture, every pause could be twisted into something that would haunt her. Then, as he leaned back, confident, smug, she caught a shift in the room, a whisper of tension, a subtle change in posture from the audience, a fleeting flicker of recognition that something extraordinary was about to happen. Her pulse surged, a mixture of fear and resolve, and in that suspended moment, she realized this wasn't just about defending herself. This was a chance to redefine the narrative, to expose the injustice, to deliver a statement no one would forget. The cameras rolled, the audience waited, and the next words out of her mouth would ignite the climax of a confrontation the world wasn't ready for, but desperately needed to witness. The room fell into an uneasy silence as she finally lifted her gaze. Every eye was on her, every camera trained to catch a flicker of weakness, a misstep, anything that could be twisted into ridicule. The host leaned forward, smug, certain he had broken her. But in that moment, something shifted. She felt the weight of every story like hers, every injustice hidden behind polite smiles and polite laughter, settle into her chest. It ignited a fire that could no longer be contained. Her voice cut through the tension, steady, unwavering, but sharp enough to stop the laughter in its tracks. The words that followed weren't just a response, they were a reckoning. She dismantled the insult, piece by piece, exposing the prejudice behind every sentence, every smirk, every assumption. The audience held its breath, caught between disbelief and admiration, while the cameras captured her courage in real time. She wasn't just defending herself, she was delivering a truth too long ignored. The host faltered, a flash of panic crossing his face as the tide of power shifted. The laughter that had once echoed now hesitated, uncertain. As if the room itself recognized the weight of what had just happened. For a fleeting moment, time seemed to pause. She had taken what was meant to humiliate her and turned it into a statement of strength, clarity, and defiance. And then the impossible happened. Whispers of approval rippled through the audience, phones lifted to record, shares beginning even before the segment ended. The world outside the studio would soon witness it, but in that suspended moment, she realized something profound. She had not just survived, she had transformed the attack into something unstoppable, a viral declaration that injustice could be confronted, that courage could shine in the face of cruelty. The host's smirk was gone, replaced by silence, as one question hung in the air: would the world listen, or would this moment slip into the noise of everyday injustice? When the cameras finally stopped rolling, she sat back for a moment, letting the adrenaline fade and the gravity of what had just occurred sink in. The studio, once tense and hostile, now felt different. Charged with a newfound respect that wasn't given lightly. She had faced the worst of the humiliation, the sharpest edge of prejudice, and turned it into a statement that could not be ignored. It wasn't victory in applause or likes, it was the quiet power of truth, delivered fearlessly, and seen by millions who might never have witnessed such courage otherwise. In the days that followed, clips of her response spread across social media, shared not just for the drama, but for the message it carried. Discussions ignited, debates flared, and slowly, a broader audience began to see the insidious nature of racism disguised in casual words and actions. Her experience was not unique. Countless people face similar injustices daily, but her stand became a symbol, a reminder that silence is never neutral, and courage can change narratives. She returned to her work, her routine, and her life, but something had shifted. The attack no longer defined her, it had revealed her resilience, her strength, and the collective power of those willing to speak out. And yet, as she reflected on the incident, one truth remained undeniable: this wasn't just her story, it was the story of a society grappling with prejudice, of a world where voices must rise against injustice. So the question lingers, long after the cameras fade and the headlines move on: how many more moments like this will it take before change becomes more than a fleeting viral sensation? How many more voices must speak, and how many more must listen? Her story is a call, a spark, and a reminder. Standing up matters, and witnessing matters even more. Will we be the ones to let it ignite something real?